Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. It is Shelby and Laura here with you this morning, and this podcast episode is kind of going to be serving two different purposes for us today. One being for you, of course, on like how to be a good client, because I don't know that a lot of folks spend a lot of time thinking about that. And also for our clients, this will be going out in your onboarding protocol in our system so that we can kind of preemptively have a more effective conversation about how to show up in a business group coaching space and like get the most out of it. And I think that in the beginning years of our business, Laura, this was a pretty intuitive process for the people that we were working with. Like, I remember the first couple of years in our business, I didn't have to worry about people showing up to calls or filling out the goal sheets that we send out every month. Like, everyone was just like in it to win it. And as we worked with more people, we got to be in more contact with different personalities and different temperaments and different flows and different personality types. And we've tried our best really to set people up for success right out of the gate. But sometimes it can be like these things might not mean anything to you. You'll listen to them and then listen to them at 30 days from now again. And you're like, oh, I see now that I have my feet wet a little bit, like this means more to me. Kind of similar with our course, our preceptorship course of like, you watch it the first time, that's cool, fine and dandy. And then once you finally start taking action, it's going to actually mean something else to you too. So if you need to re-listen to this a few times, super normal. This is all stuff I wish my first coach would have told me in the beginning. Like, here's how to play full out. Here's specifically what that means.
Yeah, we've created the experience that we think we would have benefited from the most if this was our first because nurses love structure. We love structure. Like, tell me what to do. Like, tell me how to get the A. I want the A. Tell me how to get it. Where's my syllabus? How are you grading me? And it's interesting because in business, there's no teacher.
Right.
In business, you're the teacher, you're the CEO, you're like all the roles. And so as a business coach, you're consulting, like we're teaching, we're coaching you, and we're also modeling to you what it looks like for a proficient coach to work with human beings in all areas of their life. So we have like all these different roles. And then the question becomes, how do we set you guys up with the correct context so you kind of know what the North Star is, what your part is? And that looks a lot different than any college course you've ever taken. Like, this is so different than that. And so we hope this is kind of the format of our call today. We're going to talk about what we notice about clients that thrive versus the clients that struggle. And when we say struggle, all that I mean by struggle is that it takes longer than it could have. That's about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes a little bit longer than it could have. So no judgment there, but you deserve to know from our perspective. We have team meetings every other week with all of our coaching teams. So this is years of conversations about how to help, how to make it better. And we're going to give it all to you today in this episode.
Yeah. I think also too, just kind of like as a bit of the backstory on the evolution of this conversation is what we do inside of business coaching, business mentorship is different than a traditional like coaching container because it's like split. And I don't know what the split is precisely, but it's split of coaching and deeper inner work and mindset stuff and pulling on these like inner threads. And then there's just some times where I'm straight up telling you what to do and what not to do. And that is straight up advice. And I think that that's why we like business mentorship so much, is because there's a space for it, right? There's a space for me to give you the shortcut. There's a space for me to tell you the easier path. And whether you choose it or not is kind of like on you, right? That's your choice. But for a long time, and I remember when we first had a coaching team, this like early conversation that we had on, we really wanted to protect the space of coaching. Like, I really want to have the space to meet you where you're at. So if you come to the call in tears, we're not going to talk probably about business strategy that day. We're going to talk about whatever's making you upset. Like, I wanted the space, and just the more people, the hundreds, literal hundreds and hundreds of people that we have coached, and the type of nurse that we work with, we have been conditioned for a really, really long time to prefer the structure, the checklist, the this, like, tell me what comes next, tell me the next thing after that. And I think that in the beginning, that's super helpful. And I've actually seen it work really, really well for our community. And then over time,
Yeah.
we like build this buffer to have more creative flow. But like in the beginning, the structure is just like so imperative to get you started to gain some sort of traction. So we want to give you the ultimate shortcuts today and just from the 10,000 perspective of what we've seen with hundreds of people over
Yeah.
over the years. So we're going to kind of break it down into two different sections on like things that have worked for people who thrive and then like Laura said on people who've struggled, and we have quite the list here on like what
Yeah.
makes what makes a successful client. So take notes if it feels like it lands for you. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you're a current client of ours, if you feel called out, that's a good thing to like bring to the call next time we see you.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first one is pretty straightforward. I'm going to give you, I won't give you examples for everything. We're not going to go give you 25 paragraphs for every single bullet point here. We'd be here for the next 2.5 hours and you'd feel not great.
Yeah.
Number one is clients follow guidance no matter how it makes them feel. And so having hired strategists and business coaches, if I'm going to pay tens, 20, $100,000 because somebody has created what I want to create and they already know how to do it, I am going to follow no matter what, no matter how it makes me feel. I have no resistance to it. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And until I'm complete from learning from them.
Hmm.
And that has worked well for Shelby and I. And that has been that's how we did everything. What I find is I think everybody intends that. And then your coach, your leader asks you to do something and it makes you feel cringy or it makes you feel a certain way. And your brain goes, that's not the way for me. That won't work for me
Hmm.
because of a feeling. And once you don't follow the guidance of your lead coach or your lead mentor, that's not important to you. So then from that point forward, it sets a precedence. Every time your coach gives you guidance that makes you feel something, then your ego will say, that's not for us. That's not for us. And so if it's not for you, it makes it very, very difficult for us to serve you, for us to help you. And it can be incredibly frustrating on the coach's part. But at this point, and we've had this conversation a lot, at this point, I don't feel as bad about it anymore. I think, oh, we're just going to go the long road.
Yeah.
We're just going to take the scenic route. Like this particular client is going to need the scenic route. She's going to need to, or he's going to need to experience more pain, more discomfort, more disappointment, more until they get desperate enough to try it the way that I know that works, or some version of the way that I know that it
Hmm.
works. So if you could just pause everything that you're doing right now, and if you're going to hire a business coach, and we also don't let people have two business coaches at once. If you're hiring us, you're either working with us and our guidance, or if you're working with somebody else, follow their guidance. But you don't
Yeah.
want two business coaches at the same time. Recipe for disaster. It's like having two doctors at the same time telling you different things. But follow guidance of the people that you pay money to. And if they're not charging a pretty good amount of money, they're not good business coaches,
Yeah.
period. Because a good business coach could make a whole lot of money not doing it, but chooses to do it. And so they have to charge a lot. Like if I had a one on one client, it'd be 25K
Yeah.
today. You want a coach that can charge that. They figured things out about business that you want to learn. So stay away from cheap business coaches. Find one that charges a price that makes you uncomfortable, that you can see their own value, and follow their guidance.
Yeah.
Follow their guidance.
Yeah. This one we'll spend a little extra time on, but I hear a lot of like, that doesn't feel correct. That doesn't feel right. And I want to honor the feelings of like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to feel uncomfortable for sure. Absolutely. Like it's a whole different way of being in the world. This way of being, this road of the coach, whether you are in person, online, or some kind of hybrid blend of that, requires you to be seen and witnessed in a way that you never have before. And it is very challenging for your ego. And I don't have another way. Like I don't have a secret way that I'm not telling
Mm-hmm.
you to try, right? And so whenever people are like, "Well, that way of connecting doesn't feel good to me." I'm like, "Okay, so which way does?" Because connecting 1000% necessary, you can never get around it. So what
Yeah.
way would feel in alignment for you? What are you willing to do? And then like maybe my original suggestion feels good in 30 days, but like if it's not this right now, it has to be something. We have to figure out a way
Yeah.
forward. And so I see this a lot too with like folks who are like, I don't want to use social media. I'm like, great. Okay, how else are we going to do it? What networking groups are you going to join? What clubs are you going to join? How are you going to be on foot in your community every day or majority of your week so that you can connect with people? And then they're like, but social media, I'm so mad at social media. I'm like, let it go. Let it go. If it's not social media, don't make social media the villain. Just drop it and like focus your energy elsewhere, right? Like the brain is so funky in this way of like we like latch on to what it can't be and we double down on what it can't. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about what you can't or won't do. I want what you will do, frankly. Like I want what you will do. Where's the wiggle room? Because that's our way through and around, over, under. Like we can spend
Yes.
all day on what you won't do, but I don't care about that. I care about what you're willing to do. And let's do
Yeah.
more of that. Let's pour gasoline and light matches on that fire rather
Yeah.
than spending time digging into the ice on what you won't do.
Yeah. And if you're quiet spoken or getting teary eyed over this, we deliver it softer, but it is the same sentiment.
I have a lot of love. I have a lot of love for this phase of the process. I have a lot of
Yes.
empathy for this phase of the process.
Yes.
Like Laura and I have been, it's probably easy to like be listening and be like, Lauren Shelby never did this. And that's just not true. Like there have been many
Oh
times where
my
we've
gosh,
dug in our
no.
heels, like we are not immune. We're not
And
immune.
our mentor told us we needed to create our own certification a year
Yeah.
before. And we did everything we could to not
Not.
do it.
Yeah.
And it would have been better if we had followed his advice.
Sooner.
It would have been sooner.
Yeah.
We probably would have had less painful experiences, I would say.
100%. 100%.
Right.
I remember going to our mentor the first time we met him, and we're in a room full of entrepreneurs, and all of them are on fire. And I looked at Laura and I was like, holy shit, I'm so glad that we're not on fire right now. Like, our business is so good. How lucky are we? And I just remember telling him, I'm like, why did we hire you? Like, nothing is wrong. And then fast forward a year when we
Mm-hmm.
were on fire, and I brought up that story in a different room of people. And he was like, yeah, I just couldn't help but laugh because like eventually it was going to be on fire. Like eventually we were going to be here and you hired me
Yeah.
essentially as an insurance policy at that point. But yeah, that was one of the very first pieces of advice he ever gave us. And we said
Right.
no. Like that's not it.
Yeah.
Our intentions are elsewhere. And he didn't fight us on it. He said, okay. Like
He said,
I
take
said,
the scenic route.
yeah. And we did. We sure did.
Yeah. So I feel like, and to be honest, in that particular instance, that's probably the only time I've hired somebody that I didn't take their advice because this was my thought. And so I know that this is your guys' thought too. I was like, oh, well, he just doesn't know nurse coaching. Nurse coaching's different.
Yeah. He just doesn't get it.
We all hold hands and sing kumbaya. We collaborate. We don't compete. So he was more savvy than we were. And it was my thought process of thinking that he just didn't know and that we were special. And so, like, we just did this last year. So I want to also like say, hey guys, we were doing it with you. And I
Mm-hmm.
will never do it again. It was not fun. It's not fun to not take guidance of somebody that you hire and you trust.
Right. Especially with how much money we paid him. Like looking back on that, it's just kind of
Yeah.
like all like really landing for me today. I'm like, wow, that was
Yeah.
effed up. What? I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different factors, of course, but there's two ways to look at it, right? Of like, oh, he just doesn't get it. Or the other side of the coin is like he just sees it differently than we do.
Right.
Right. And so like what does he see that I don't? We should have been honestly more curious and probably asked more questions.
Right.
But
Yeah.
God, we had such our rose-colored glasses on, and it was great.
Yeah.
Well, it
It
wasn't.
was great. We
Mhm.
enjoyed it for a little bit longer. All right, guys. So number one is clients, good clients. Follow guidance no matter how it makes them feel. And let's even add a caveat there that if something isn't landing similar to our story that we just told about our personal experience, get more curious. And perhaps there's a deeper conversation. And we try to help you get more curious. We try to co-create We don't want to just consult and speak at you and because we know better. We want you to come to the place where you find some version of our guidance and you're able to take a hold of it and take action with it. So if something that we're advising you to do is just intolerable, not working, speak up
Yeah.
and let's see if we can find a place to meet. Even if it's a slightly longer road, at least you're on the right road.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. All right. Second point here is short and sweet and to the point. Come to the call ready to be coached. Have something that you want to be coached on. Take 10 minutes before the call, sit down, journal your thoughts. Don't open your mouth and be like, I don't really know what I want to talk about today, but and then like go on some
Yeah.
sing-songy thing until we find something to coach on, like especially in group containers. Like have an agenda. Have and if we get caught off guard and taken by surprise, that's cool too. But come
Yeah.
prepared. Take the time. Take the time
Yes.
to have the thing to be coached around.
Yeah. It's I think Shelby, you broke it down to the amount of money that our clients were paying to be in that
Mhm.
room. And then it's like, well, if it's $500 an hour, let's just say, if it's $500 an hour to be in that space, to be supported, how much would you prepare to spend if you were paying $500 every time you showed up, would you be more
Yeah.
prepared? And that it's also okay to come to a call and be like, I actually, everything's going great. I'm actually not feeling like I need any support today. I'm just here to support my colleagues and to observe and to cheer everybody on. That's
Yeah.
okay too. That
Totally.
happens in a
Yeah.
year container. That's okay too.
Many times I showed up on coaching calls of like, I'm good. Like I'm content. I had
Yeah.
this like one-off question. Was coached
Yeah.
for 4 minutes and like that was it. And
Yeah.
nothing has gone wrong. You don't have to like force it. But like I can remember every call before my coach sitting down, making a checklist of questions that I had and deciphering like, can I ask any of these in our group? Does any of these need FaceTime? Like what is the biggest, juiciest thing
Mm-hmm.
on my list here to untangle that I need live support for? And I think that
Ooh.
mentality served me super well, honestly.
Yeah, we have that further down. So let's move the order of this. But there are so many questions you can have answered in the chat. Shelby and I
Hmm.
are available. I mean, Shelby's better about having boundaries on the weekends, but I will pretty much respond within 24 hours if I have my phone on me
Yeah.
and I can answer it. And it's not a big, huge answer. But use your chat, use the chat. Our mentor supports us through Telegram and we meet with him 4 times a year live
Yeah.
and this is high level stuff, can be done through voice note, can be done through video, can be done through sharing documents. It's so useful and it's unlimited. It
Yeah.
is unlimited. That is a big thing that you pay for. Not every coaching container has that and
Right.
encourages that. So say like get the low hanging fruit out of the way in chat if you can and think about what would be the best, most awesome thing that you could solve live
Hmm.
on the call.
Hmm. Yep. I also too, like if you have a long laundry list of things, there have been some times where I've told clients of like, I think that this is better. We talk about this live on the call. Like we're probably
Right.
not going to get there in the chat, but like easy questions with simple answers about Facebook or social media or networking events, like all of that can happen in the chat. I noticed that our community too, and we also have this on the list, they have a lot of stories about taking up space and being seen. And we work with a lot of introverted nurse coaches. So, like, this is a challenge, and I want to acknowledge that. But, like, you taking up space in an online chat, you're not taking away from anybody else. Like, the pie is genuinely infinite. And
Right.
if it ever becomes too much, too overwhelming, you're talking for too long and we're getting 50-minute voice memo podcast episodes from you in Telegram, like I'll tell you of like,
Yeah.
okay, we got to like figure out a different way to communicate here. But this is such a great like way to verbally process or to purge your thoughts out. Like it is one of our most underutilized deliverables with our
Yes.
clients for sure.
I'm going to give a shout out to somebody by name because I know that she won't mind. And Alyssa Herman, I love the way she uses chat.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too.
I love the way she uses chat. She is on it. And Alyssa's in our year 2 container. She's a full-time professional coach. So that's part of it as well. She's not splitting her time with other things, but she doesn't wonder. She uses us and she uses us
Yeah.
in a really like I can see how much value we give her through chat and it makes me really, really happy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like
and Alyssa's, like, in the group chat, she's in my one-on-one chat, she's, like
yeah,
and she's she'll ask me probably every 40 days of like, is this okay? Like, am I out of boundaries here? I'm like, nope. Like, this is
Yeah, no.
100% fine. This is 100%.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's really really cool. So shout out to her for being the ideal chat user. It's what we all want you guys to have and to get, and to, as business coaches, we want you to glean every drop of value that we can possibly deliver to you in our power.
Yeah, for sure. And even
Yeah.
with our mentor too, I don't know how many couples he works with, or like
Yeah.
paired business owners, but like Laura and I will be on different pages asking him different questions, and he will forget to answer my question or
Yeah.
Laura's question, and I'm like, hey, round it up 5 messages, pal. Like, give me my answer. And they're small questions that like just
Yeah.
need a one way or the other answer on, but yeah, take up the space. You have paid the same amount of money to take up the same
Hmm.
whatever it is for you. Like, you've literally paid for it.
Yeah, awesome. Next one is we notice that clients that thrive, they come engaged, they aren't multitasking, and they listen and watch other peers being coached. This is across the board. And any coach we've ever had be on our team, this is
Yep.
something that they did exceptionally every call that we were ever their mentor. That is one of the things when I look for potentially hiring somebody on our team, I notice it's not like they're trying to, they just are interested. They're genuinely
Mm,
interested in their peers. They sometimes they'll even raise their hand and be like, "Can I say something?" And they'll
yeah.
be like acknowledging and encouraging, and you can just tell they're bought into the whole group experience. You don't have to go overboard, but we also have clients who are consistently writing or walking around the kitchen, or and that if you're a busy mom, if you're get rushing home from work, like that's totally fine. That's
Yeah.
different. But your presence, like allowing
Hmm.
the group to have your presence, is it's a big deal, and it will make you such a better coach. Observing us support different humans with different things, you're going to learn. This is how you're going to learn to really be a better coach. This is where
Hmm.
mentorship's so important. Yeah.
Yep. I had a client the other day who got pissed at something that I said in a call to somebody else. I wasn't even coaching her, but she got triggered. And after the call, I actually really appreciate the way she went about it, because she owned her own experience without like pointing too many
Yeah.
fingers. And she set a hard boundary for herself of like, I don't want that kind of coaching. I'm like, cool, like no big deal, totally understand. And the person who I was coaching was like, no, I needed that kind of coaching. Like, it was actually
Yeah.
like cool how it unfolded. And then
Hmm.
somebody else who had to actually hop off the call early messaged me, and she was like, I went back and watched the recording, and I learned so much from watching how that unfolded and how you handled it. Like, that was such a great moment for me. And she's like, are you gonna like circle back and like make sure everything's okay, or like dive deeper onto that? And I'm like, well, if it keeps coming up, then of course, right? But like for now, it feels complete and we can all move on as a unit. But I've noticed since that call, that particular client is like more tuned in, of like paying attention and kind of like playing out like, what would I say here? What question would I
Yeah.
ask? What would I do? And there's not always time on the call to like let everybody coach each other, hardly if ever, to be honest. But that's what I would do on initial calls, is like, oh, I didn't even think of that question, or this is where my
Right.
is going, and I really appreciate that my coach just asked this instead. Like, it's a dedicated 2 hours a week to like your own self study in your coaching skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's a game you can play too to stay. I understand, like if you're getting coached for 15 minutes, then you're observing for an hour and 45 if it's just purely a coaching call. And that's a long time.
Yeah.
We just went through a certification where that was the case. And it's a wonderful game that you can play. Rich Lippman talks about this. He's like, if you're watching another coach, get a pen out and a piece of paper and write down the alternative, like what you would have done, how you would have done it different. Like this is so valuable.
Yeah.
And noticing how if and when you would coach all the people in the group different, or what you'd want more of. And by the way, Shelby and I and any of our lead coaches would love to know that you're doing that, like
Yeah.
fully. Like we would love it.
For
That's
sure.
like kind of a way to glean more value as becoming a better coach, is really like thinking about how you would handle each particular person at each
Hmm.
particular moment of their coaching journey in in your calls.
Yeah.
And this is kind of tied to the next one, which is they tend to, clients that thrive just tend to smile more in general on the calls. because
Mhm.
I think they're seeing the possibility, they're seeing the coaching, and there's just like this sense of excitement around being around it, as opposed to passively observing. That's how I
Yeah.
will say it.
Yeah. For sure. And there's been a couple of coaching containers that I've been in to where I'm like, camera is off. I'm definitely multitasking on the back end. Like,
Yeah,
and honestly, team, that's an ego thing for me of like, I'm too good to fully participate in this space. So I'm just gonna like half listen and answer emails or half listen and work on this spreadsheet. And after I get on the call, I never or get off, I'm like, I didn't really get anything out of either of those experiences. Like
right.
I kind of got like 10% out of both because I'm not a great multitasker in that way of like listening and
Yeah,
doing something else. So if this is you, we work with a lot of busy moms. I'm not calling you guys out. You guys are doing literally the best you got right now. I get it. And there's been many calls where my daughters have been in my lap on the call and I have my camera off simply so that we're not distracting. But if you're there, like I encourage you to be there as much as you
yeah,
can. Yeah, to be fully in it for you and for your group too.
yeah, yeah. I think we got this next one. So the following one is, this is a big one. They treat their business like a business and they not like a side hustle. So what's that
Mhm.
actually mean? Shelby, how would you like
Yep.
quantify that?
So their business is a priority on their
Yes.
list in the same way that a job would be a priority
Yeah.
on their list. And since we work with a lot of women, since we would work with a lot of moms, I witness a lot of our clients being the like chaos absorber in their family. So when a kid gets sick, when someone gets admitted to the hospital, when like all of these life things that happen. And I don't want to like of course that's also kind of like the double-edged sword of like we have our own business. I can cancel my whole day if I needed to go tend to something very important, and we've done that and we encourage people to do that. But when you are new, instead of like your business getting the leftover parts of you, the leftover time, like it comes kind of like one or two on the list. Like it's top
Yeah.
have time blocked out on Wednesdays from 8 to noon. That is my time. That's where I pour it in. On Thursdays is my call. And you don't need 40 hours a week to do this in the beginning, like not even close.
No.
But life is always going to be crazy. Life is not one thing after another. It's everything all at once. Like everything is
Yeah.
going to be happening all at once. And this is also kind of the perks of working with a coach of like, there are some times when I look at clients and I'm like, this month ain't it. This month ain't it. Like you have too much on your plate. So unless we magically hire a nanny in the next 48 hours, this month is not it for you. So how can we leverage the next 4 weeks to set you up? Like what needs to
Right.
happen to make
Yeah.
space for next month? But our clients that have the most success are able to quit their jobs when they want to or go PRN, like their business is top one or two things on their list every single
Yeah.
day.
I have to be really careful how I speak about this because I do sense that I have a more masculine approach to it, but I'm going to
Also
say it.
wake up at 4 a.m. That's
That's my natural
I
way
know.
though. Yeah. But I was talking to I'm in the process of becoming ICF certified, which is awesome. And so I met with my mentor for today and he told me about his career. He's been a professional coach for 12 years. And the first six, he worked 40 hours a week in a corporation and then had paid clients. For 6 years, coaching was a side gig, but he coached thousands of hours. So
Yeah.
our number one earner was a single mom who worked full time in the beginning. What's the reason why they're able to do that and other people aren't? It's not because they're Superman or Superwoman. It's because something inside of them is telling them this is has to be almost borderline an obsession for a short period of time to stick. And
Mhm.
I'm just not willing for it to not stick. And
Right.
so then it becomes kind of a healthy compulsion. We can turn it into a way of coping with our current life circumstances. It can
Mhm.
feel like a somewhat of an escape from a life that you're currently not enjoying to its fullest because of circumstances around your career. And so I think it's the way that we frame it. And it just needs to be a slight obsession 8 hours a week. It doesn't need to be every single day, but it
Yeah.
can't be. I'll get to coaching and working on my business when the whole house is clean, everybody's healthy. I've made a dinner, we've remodeled the backyard, and I've cleaned my baseboards. And I see
Right.
that.
Right.
Right.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, there was a conversation I was having with a client a few weeks ago, and she was we were problem solving something together, which I'll leave out the details of, but we were problem solving something together. And I was like, okay, so we've solved the problem for this month, but how do we solve it again for next month? Because I'm not hearing a long-term solution here. And I don't fault her. Homie's got a lot going on. There's many
Mm-hmm.
plates in the air. She's juggling quite a bit. She's like, well, I'm just going to trust the process. And I'm just going to trust that it's going to work out. And I was like, that's not a good plan. You have not been able to take action in 6 months because of all of these things that are going on in your life. I don't think in the next 21 days that like that's going to shift without a lot of intentional effort. Like trusting the process comes through taking action over and
Right.
over and over again. And so for people that are like, oh, well, I'll just see, or I'll just, if it happens, it happens. Or like that is not a great mindset to have when we're not doing any of the necessary steps on the back end, like making
Right.
time and connecting and inviting and coaching. Like all of those things are so mandatory, frankly,
Yeah.
for it to
Right.
work.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance. It's very nuanced. Your lead mentor will be aware of this, just so you know.
Mhm.
We're not going to have unrealistic expectations on you, but we're also going to call you out because if you say that your business is really important and then your actions consistently put it as a 2 out of 10 of priority on the list, then we need to reflect that back to you because one of two things either we're going to adjust the priority and get
Mhm.
some momentum, or we're going to come to the conclusion that owning your own coaching business is not for you. And then we're going to figure out what is for you. And we're going to coach you
Yeah.
around what is for you. And I would rather do that than pretend like be the in between in the liminal space for a long period of time. I've told clients, why don't we just not work on your business for 6 weeks and see how you feel?
Yeah.
Because you're either going to miss it and it's going to evoke some kind of a feeling. And I've had people want to quit, come back and nail it. So if this is you, if you're thinking about this right now, or you're one of our clients like on a little sabbatical from coaching, I've seen this turn around so many different times. But I think I think that what I want to say is it's intentional. You're aware. You're not saying one thing and your actions are showing another thing. It'll just feel better for you if those are reconciled.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. All right. Next one here is clients who thrive are vulnerable to their edge, whatever that looks like for them, and often emote and cry during.
Yeah.
They are often frustrated. They are often tearful. They are often kicking and screaming. Like they have an emotional intelligence in the sense of like we are feeling the feels. It's not gonna like take me off the tracks necessarily, but like having a pause, a shoulder to cry on, a little bit of a pep talk, and then able to move through it quicker
Yeah.
than folks who stuff or hide or hold back in this way.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember crying in my, did you cry in your business container, your first
Oh
one?
yeah, a lot, a lot.
It's like I embarrassingly cried many times where it just felt like the most inappropriate response to the particular thing that I was being coached on that was really revealing the thing underneath that I was
Yeah.
crying about. I also cried in a direct sales business I was in, like the big upline, the big wig. They set up a call for me to have with her, and I cried to her. And so there's this thing with me in business and like putting myself out there that was so tender. It was so
Mhm.
tender. It was so embarrassingly tender. But once you emote in a group and you're like, and mine was, I don't like people that have money. I
Yeah.
don't even like people that can afford coaching. So I don't even want to coach people that can afford coaching because I don't even like people that have money because they're stuck up and they're assholes and they aren't very warm. And that was really helpful to like cry and my coach could see, oh, we got to
Yeah.
slow down. There's more here. So
Hmm.
we want you to emote if you
Yeah.
can, if it's coming up.
For sure. For sure. And if you need a little time to like get familiar with the group, that I get it, you know. I've
Mm-hmm.
also had groups where everyone cries on the very first call. So like it's all we've literally seen the whole spectrum
Mm-hmm.
of emoting through our containers and we encourage it. Okay, this one's more logistical, but you guys, people who win, they go through the course many times and they create a structure around the course that works. Like it's
Yeah.
again, a mandatory part of the process. Yep, that's really there's no caveat
Yeah.
to that one.
Yep. And by the time you join mentorship, hopefully you're not trying to figure out if this can work for you. You've already decided that you want it.
Yeah.
So there's just like in the stages of change, you are not in your past contemplation and you're in action. That's really helpful.
Yeah, that's imperative. It's imperative. You've decided.
Decided, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Next one here. They are not seeking starting a business as a plan B because the only reason being that they hate their job. They are starting a business because they like love coaching and they love like we have this like a little bit of obsession with learning about the human condition and like really wanting to make a difference in people on whatever kind of spectrum or level that you want. But whenever I talk to people, and I had a call a few months ago with someone who was like, I just want to have they were an MP. And he's like, I know that I could be helping people better. And I was like, okay, saying all the right things. He's like, I just want to tell people what to do. And I was like, no, that is not. He's like, I listened to your podcast, so shout out if you're listening right now. He's like, and you and Laura are a little bit more feely. I don't want to talk about feelings. I just want to tell people what to do. And I was like, also no, like that won't work here. Your heart's pointed in the right direction, but there's some learning that still has to happen here. But like we're coaches that succeed are in it because they have a love for the game. Like they have
Yeah.
a genuine love for the
Right.
art of coaching.
Yeah, I also think if you're a leader, I think that, or you have experience with leaders that you really like, a great leader will not tell you what to do because they know the answer. They'll ask you a question so that you find the answer for themselves. You find the answer for yourself. So you could be asking questions to point people to the insight. And I think that's wonderful. Like this gentleman, this NP, you still kind of get to tell people what to do ish, but you have to find all the skills to help them come to that realization on their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last one here too of we in our programs we send out monthly goal setting emails and you get it in an email. It's a form. It's available in your Google Calendar invite. Like we put this thing everywhere and I know that goal setting is not everybody's cup of tea. I understand. But I know because we have the numbers. I know that the people who fill it out every month and that write down, this is what I did in September. This is my intention for October. This is what I did in October. This is my intention for November. Even if we don't hit 100, we don't bat 100% every time, they're getting close and they have more success long term. They have faster success. I don't know what the science is, but I know that if you write your goals down, you have a 42% more chance of them actually happening.
Yeah. Right.
That seems like a pretty easy advantage to just write them down.
Yeah. And for clients that we've had at the 7-month mark in mentorship, there's a specific slice of people who aren't happy with their results and sometimes end up talking to Shelby or I. And that's what we pull up. And I've never had somebody disappointed in their results that when I pulled it up, they had turned in their goals. Most likely they've turned in 2 or 3 out of 7.
Right.
And so there's a huge indicator there, like just from a statistical perspective, that if you are somebody who chooses to do it every single month that you're in the mentorship, which it takes about probably 4 minutes to do, 4 to 5 minutes, that if you do that 12 times, that you are 50% more likely to make more money. So that 5 minutes is worth a lot of money. There's a huge ROI on that 5 minutes. So we really want you guys to set a reminder on your phone, do whatever it is that you need to do. So that is a non-negotiable that you say for the next 12 months, I'm going to do this form and that's going to be how I start each month in this business that I'm doing.
Yep. It's a great tool for us to leverage as coaches, right? When people are like, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I'm like, okay, specifically how, right? Because like feeling like you're spinning your wheels is a feeling. Like what are we spinning our wheels over? And if we can pull up your monthly goals, if we can pull up your client progress tracker, that's just like zooming out, or your business tracker of like how many people are you connecting with? Where's the breakdown? Is it between the connect and the invite, or the invite and then people don't show up to calls? Like we can dial in our advice so much more specifically if we have this data in like a fraction of the amount of time. And usually when I have this conversation with people, they're like, oh, I thought I was doing more, but I'm not.
Right.
Like, I really thought that I was inviting more people, but I only invited 3 people last month. Like that's it's kind of like a polar plunge of like we get to like dunk in of like looking at some black and white numbers here when it's really easy to get lost in the feelings of it all.
Yes.
And ground us into reality. It's super helpful.
Yeah. My weight loss coach is like, Laura, can you write down everything that you eat for a week? Oh, come on, Grace. Like, no. And then I did it and I was like, oh, like even that, like I
Yeah.
think I know, I think I'm aware. And it's so helpful to, and obviously it's not that intense, but yeah, I think that's all of the ways that we want you to get the most out of what you pay for. And we want to see you succeed so bad. And I don't think Shelby and I'd be doing this business coaching thing this long, still on fire for business and all things as much as we are. We didn't have the most extraordinary clients. So we coach
Hmm.
the leaders in the industry. We coach the change makers. Like I think we're regarded as pretty much the best in the industry for a reason. And so just know that we're as obsessed with serving you guys as we are in trying to teach you how to get the most of what we can
Hmm.
offer.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And we have actually a pretty short list on like four things that we see that are often, and we've done individual podcasts kind of like on all of these
Yeah.
different things. So if you want a deeper dive, they exist. But these are like the instances that happen that make me like have to like take a deep breath and check my own emotions before before I start
Yeah.
coaching around them. Cause I'm like, again, here we are again. So the first one being is if you hire another business coach inside of our container and like don't tell us, because then you're going to, like Laura had mentioned before, you're going to be getting two different streams of information. And what I have found over the years is a lot of people have a different solution for brand new coaches than we do. Like genuinely,
Yeah.
truly, they try to sell you the freebie funnel or
You need a targeted niche and
a
you need this
niche
social
thing.
media strategy.
Yeah, like
And
all of it.
right. And that you, I think we've talked about this before. Great advice 18 months in, great advice 24 months in, great advice when you know how to close a sales call, terrible advice when you just graduated cert. But also when you hire other coaches for other things, but you don't share it with us because this is happening right now in our community over and over and over again. We're supporting people in business. You start supporting other nurse or following other nurse coaches. Some of them are selling super aggressively. And before you know it, you're in a 3 month container working on something specific. And then Shelby and I and the team go, okay, well, for the next 90 days, they're not going to be doing business because we've seen it
Yeah.
happen too many times. So it's like, would you try to become a badminton expert and an ice skater at the same time? Like, would you like, don't do that.
Hmm.
Constrain. And when you're done with mentorship, that's a beautiful time to go do some like then put a note in your brain saying, as soon as I'm done with this and I'm complete with this, I would love to go do this other thing.
Yeah.
Or in the back end, when you've had paid clients where you have more space, perhaps you're not working 40 hours a week, but there is this trend of like over consuming support and it backfires almost always. And it's frustrating for us. And if you share with us, you're thinking about hiring somebody, which by the way, sometimes we ask you to hire somebody if we know
Hmm.
them and we know what you're going to be working on, but ask because we know the industry. Likely if the nurse coach that you're trying to hire, we've probably trained them. We have lots of experience of feedback from their program. We can give you a strong, unbiased opinion if we think it's going to be the right time for
Yeah.
you to do that.
Yep. And it's really just more of like a bandwidth thing.
Right.
Like your business requires a lot of energy from you, and
Yeah.
any container that you join is going to require a lot of energy from you, and it gets muddy quickly. It gets super muddy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, at least if you jump in with us first, like loop us in. I won't
Yeah.
hold you back from like the thing that's going to help you move the needle forward, but I would ask
Yeah.
some opinions before jumping in. Second one being when you cherry pick what you will and won't do in your business, of like this kind of like circles back to the first thing that we brought up of like just do what we tell you to do, and we can collaborate on the way that feels most correct.
Mm-hmm.
But likely the first 6 months you're just going to feel cringy, you're just going to feel annoying, you're going to feel all these things, and like we have to build a tolerance for that, and we have to create an experience to where it balances out some pieces of the scale so that you keep going. Like that is.
Right.
And so when you come to the call and you're like, I'm not going to do that, or I've changed my mind again, or Shelby, I know you said to do this, but I really want to build a web, or not to do this, but I'm going to build my website anyway. Like I hold back less and less on this of like, that's not a good idea. That's not where you should be spending your time right now. We can't keep chasing the next shiny object over here, but like
Right.
if I could let you guys skip it, I would. I just so would. But this is the first 90
Yeah.
days are you have to do. almost exactly what I tell you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'll do a workshop, but I won't follow up with anybody.
Yeah.
Or I'll do like, or like, right. Cause it's like this whole process, or I'll do a post once a week on social media, but I won't direct message anybody. I'm going to wait for everybody to come to me.
Yeah.
I think that can be really frustrating for us because then your brain will say, well, this isn't working. And it's like, yeah, it's
Well,
like,
no shit. It's not
yeah,
working.
it's like these cookies don't taste good. You skipped a bunch of the ingredients. They
You
taste
didn't
like
add
shit
the
for a reason.
butter. The butter's the best part. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Specifically, this is in relation to follow up, right? Of like, I'll do
Yeah,
the thing, but I'm not going to follow through all the way to the finish line. And it's like, dude,
right.
we're running a triathlon and you did the swim and the bike, and you're basically like shooting yourself in the foot 10
Yeah,
meters before the finish line. Like, why?
right. It's like, why don't I have any medals? Because you skipped a third of the race.
Yeah, yeah. It's we have to cross the finish line. Yep. And the okay, so third one here being when clients have unrealistic expectations of how starting a business is going to feel. I can't hardly fault people for this because they just don't know. You don't know until you know,
I
but there's
mean,
like
thank
this.
God we kind of don't know. It's like childbirth, I think.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
I,
For
and then we forget with childbirth because we just keep doing it. But
sure.
when we're even you just recovered from surgery and you're like, man, that was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. And it's
Yeah.
like some of that's great. It's great. I think that we come in with rose
Yeah.
colored glasses. But when you do start having the feelings, I think just reminding yourself of our voices that nothing's gone wrong. Oh, this is more difficult than I thought it would be, as opposed to, well, this is I don't like this. I didn't sign up for this. That kind of approach to
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
feelings part.
If it feels hard, good, because that means we've like found your edge in some way, right?
Yeah,
That's what's required here is to like build a house on the edge of your comfort zone and then just keep rebuilding the house every time your comfort zone gets bigger. Like you don't
right.
get comfort, you just build tolerance for discomfort uh,
Yeah.
over time. And okay, last one here, folks. When clients, again, this ties into cherry picking, but chasing shiny objects and then complaining that they don't get the results that they want. I can't prevent you from every shiny object. There are some like really predictable ones that we try to steer you clear of, or at least just like slow your roll until it's a better time. Again, for social media marketing or for the website or the whatever. But have found lately that phrasing things, and like a lot of our clients want to start a podcast. Starting a podcast is one of the best things we ever did for our business. I know that it works. It's a great tool, but I tell them, I was like, it's going to be about $3,000 to get off the ground and at least 75 hours of your time from
To
start
do it right.
to launch. And I was like, and then it's going to cost you about $500 a month unless you're going to learn how to video edit. And if that's the case, then add on X amount of hours,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
it's, and that usually is like, oh, okay. Like that's just not like a casual weekend project that I can pull off. And I'm like, no, like
Right.
this is a
Yeah.
whole machine over here and it is so good. It's such a good one. And like, let's have some capital in your business to reinvest so you can
Yeah.
hire
Let's have
people
some
to do it.
time and money.
Yeah.
Money in the business bank account, time that's not currently that you're stressed in during the week. And then, I mean, I think in year two, we have some people where this is absolutely the next best step for them, but they're coaching, they have paid clients every single month. They're paying their bills with their coaching income. And now we're just looking to make this easier and to make this more streamlined and to scale a little bit.
Hmm.
And so all wonderful, wonderful things. And by the way, we're about to start another master's group. I love year two. We love year two.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and we haven't coached you and you've had 10 paying clients and you're looking to scale and do some of these bigger things, we would love to work with
Yeah.
you there too. So it's not that we don't want you to experience the thrill of the next shiny object, but we want you to experience the thrill of the shiny object when it's going to get you to where you want to go and not
Hmm.
keep you from where you want to go.
Because what if you poured
Yeah.
5 grand into a podcast and then by some grace of God, you have an audience for it, right?
Yeah.
That actually listens. And then you get 60 leads from a
Right.
podcast. What are you going to do with those leads? How are you going to manage all those leads? How are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to
Yeah.
close a sale? Like there's all of this stuff with these bigger projects. I like the phrase is trying to bottle lightning. Like there is a lot
Yeah.
more strategy that happens here and it all hinges upon you being able to convert on a sales call or like know what the right client for you is and know what problem you solve. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is all second floor of your house that you get to build after laying the
Yeah.
foundation and building the first floor.
All right. Well, since our students will be listening to this inside the course, I want to direct this directly to you. After you've listened to this, likely you've already bought the course, you're in one of our group coaching programs, and anything rings true for you, anything you're like, oh my gosh, this number 6 is one of the things I know that I need to work on, let us know. And if we're not your lead coach, we will let your lead coach know, but call yourself out, or just, I would really like to work on taking up space. I know I tend to try to stay small. I always worried about taking up too much time and too much space. Tell your lead coach that, and we will actually make that one of our goals to support you in, is to make sure that you take up
Mm-hmm.
space. Yeah, we're on your team. I mean, my mission is to have as many successful nurse coaches in this country as freaking possible, because that means things are probably really going well. And so this is all for you. And we hope
Yeah.
that you got a lot out of today's episode.
Yep, it was a mouthful. It was a mouthful. I already know that the Telegram chats are going to be spicy whenever this podcast episode goes live. So just also know this is coming from a place of like not shaming or guilting.
Mm-hmm.
I see myself in every single one of these things. Like I've been here at some point in time. It's a necessary, moving through these things is a necessary part
Yeah.
of your own evolution. And if you can like be like, if you can giggle at any of these of like, yeah, I do never fill out the monthly goal sheet, or I do have shiny object syndrome. Like if we can like laugh about it a little bit, it loosens its hold and its grip.
Yeah.
Um,
No shame. This is
no.
not no,
Mm-mm.
this is the human condition. And if you saw yourself in any way that's useful, we'd love to giggle about it with you if you're in our container. And
Yeah.
I hope you guys know we love you guys. We care about you guys. Shelby and I think about you guys. We talk about you guys. We have been for
I
5
dream
years.
about you when I'm on vacation. Literally, when I was in Hawaii, I dreamed about our clients while I was
I
on
I do it
vacation.
all the time. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Even after you're complete. For those of you who've been through our programs, and I see you in the interwebs, I think about you. Like, we
Yeah.
just love you guys so much, and so I want to wrap up this spicier episode with that beautiful positive intent and how we actually really feel about you.
Hmm.
Yeah, and if you are new to hanging with us and are looking to become a nurse coach, come check out Nurse Life Coach Academy, our free Facebook group. Or if you are ready to start your private practice, you know you want to work with us, message us and we'll let you know what we've got cooking and what we're enrolling for.
All right, homies. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.